First answer. Years ago I was interviewing someone who listed being a supervisor at a Starbucks as part of her resume. Asked her to share a story about tough conflict resolution. She shares that she caught an employee stealing. She said it was tough because she couldn't tell anyone. Why? Because it would get him in trouble. Okay, so how did you deal with it? I tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't stop. So then, whenever he was going to steal something, I did it for him so he wouldn't get in trouble. There was no sense of wrongdoing on her part, no guilt. Seemed kind of proud of her answer, perhaps thinking I would be quite impressed with how she handled it. I walked out and had a hard time figuring out if this was one of those fancy interview consultants that higher ups send to see how we react or if she was just nuts. Second answer. I was a hiring manager for a while at my place of employment. Had a decent candidate. He was applying for an overnight position, so his slight lack of social skills wasn't too bad. He had a decent work history and told us he'd been through a recent divorce and had been down on his luck for a while, which explained an 18 months gap in employment. He answered no to the conviction question. His drug test was fine, so I started his background check and told him we'd bring him back in to finish up a paperwork once it was returned. 4 days later, the check was still pending, which usually suggests that the candidate has some sort of record and our HR depth is investigating. A week and a half passes, and candidate was called a few times asking what's up. I have no answer. Finally, I get the big "don't hire" on his status, as well as an email from HR. The email was basically along the lines of "don't hire candidate, don't contact candidate. If candidate comes into your location, insist he leaves immediately." I never saw the guy after that, and I don't know what they found. Third answer. Not an HR, but I sit next to them and often hear amazing tales. Weirdest one I can think of was a guy who on his resume listed a special skill of I can tell if someone has diarrhea just by their smell, along with an extensive explanation of his ability to diagnose gastrointestinal problems by using his nose. On a resume, Googling his name led in turn to various fetish websites, and well, he was out of the running. Fourth answer was interviewing potential candidates for a driving position. 60-year-old male comes in, wins me over heart and soul. Just a real dedicated guy. Really professed the love of his family, extremely polite. Background search revealed several drug charges and armed robberies from over 20 years ago. I really wanted to hire him anyway, but that was a huge no go at my company. Fifth answer. Wasn't in charge of hiring, but I used to run background checks for potential workers and volunteers at an animal shelter. A middle aged guy wanted to volunteer, and we have to make sure that people don't have any history of animal abuse, among other things. Found a nasty assault and theft charge against him from 10 years prior, and after that, it was like the guy completely disappeared off the radar. Had to call and ask him to explain what he did during those years because there might be a mistake. Couldn't get a hold of him. A couple more days pass and I see his mugshot on the news. He was in prison and had just escaped 2 days prior to wanting to volunteer, was on the run. Sixth answer, trucking company a few years back, if a lack of drivers, we were told if he has a pulse, he's 80% in. So we fast track this guy. Monday, free day, orientation, he is full 100% driver by Friday. As we are booking him a lot, he said next Tuesday he has to be home. Ask him why. Driver, I got a court date. Me, okay, assuming it is a minor thing. Can you go back out on a Thursday? Driver, I do know. Depends on the judge. Me, what do you mean? Driver, I'm up for double attempted murder. Fired before his first trip.